let's move over to Instagram. I'd love to know if you've been to the UK. I have. I've been to London. And if so, whereabouts? I stayed with a friend in Chelsea. I think it was Chelsea. It was like the southwest part of London. What did you think of it over here? I love London. I tell my husband all the time, if you get transferred to London, I'm there. I will be there. I will go. I will pack. Everything will be awesome. I love London. Where else have you traveled outside of the US? What's your favorite type of break? So I've talked about where I've traveled to. My favorite type of break, because I don't vacation that much, when I do vacation, it is to relax. So I do like kind of beach, total relaxation, like no tech kind of vacations. I do like those. Carla, hi Carla, is asking me, Young and the Restless or Days of Our Lives? I was definitely a Days of Our Lives gal. Mainly because Young and the Restless started at 12:30, so like I would always cut in between and then end after something started, and so I don't know, it just messed up my soap opera watching schedule. So when I was younger, I would watch Days of Our Lives. I have not seen that in like 20 years. Christina, the beauty rookie, asked from August, her son, why are you so pretty? Oh, August. He's my biggest fan. I love him. And then her question is, do you like living in Vegas and do you ever hope to move back to New York City? I do like living in Vegas. It's a very nice life. It's very comfortable. It's not very expensive. You can have a very, very nice life here without having to make a lot of money. The weather here is great. The people that I've experienced so far, very nice, very friendly. But I do miss New York. I mean, New York, like I've said a gazillion times now, is my home. I love it. But I don't know that I'll ever move back there. You know, when I lived in New York, I lived in 1,000 square foot apartment. It was 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And to me, it was not huge, but I'm like, this is a big apartment. Like, this is fine. It was a duplex. We had some outdoor space, but it was 1,000 square feet. And now I'm in this like dinky rental, which is 1,600 square feet. It's still very, very small for Las Vegas. The idea of having to move back to 1,000 square feet, no. Like, where would I put all my makeup? Where would I put all my yarn? I don't even know where. Like, every single corner, under every piece of furniture is like a storage opportunity in New York City. And I just don't think I can live that way anymore. But I miss everything else about it. But no, I don't think I could ever move back there. I could imagine having like a second home there and spending some time there, but not living there full time. My question is not so fitting, but I would love to work in your company, and could I send a resume? Well, that's very nice, but I don't have a company. So I don't want to lead you on, but I don't have a company. But thanks. Thanks for thinking I have one. Hi, Michele. This is Padma. Hello. Thanks for reviewing Sonia G brushes. I picked up the Fundamental brush set from Beautylish, and I absolutely love it. I'm glad you do. I think they're amazing. My question, when did you decide you wanted to make YouTube videos? Well, I started on YouTube with knitting topics, and I wanted to talk about new yarns and yarns that I was liking, and talk about designs and my process as a designer. Before that, I had opened up a yarn store, and it was open for about 1.5 years. It basically, lived its course, and so I closed it for many reasons, but it was done, and I had a great time. I actually had a better time being a store owner than I thought. I thought it was going to be more headache and less fun, but it actually ended up being a lot more fun and not that much headache. But I had a really good situation. Anyway, so I closed that store, and I realized what I missed was the connection with the customers. I really loved being able to introduce a knitter to a yarn that maybe they had never worked with, and then they would come back the next week and be like, oh my god, like I love this yarn, do you have any more of it or whatever? And I loved that was the interaction that was the most memorable for me. It meant the most, and I thought, well, how can I do that without having a storefront, without people actually being able to come to me? And so I had just recently started watching YouTube makeup videos, and this was back in 2016? Yeah, I think 2016. I had just started watching makeup videos, and I was like, why don't I start a YouTube channel, and I can talk about yarns, and people can comment, and we can go back and forth. And this was kind of like the community that I wanted to build on there, but I wasn't able to upload as many videos as I wanted. Knitting is a very slow process. Like, there aren't a ton of yarn releases coming out all the time, not even close to like makeup releases. So it wasn't like I had this endless supply of things to review. And then I started working for The Plucky Knitter, exclusively and as their employee. And so I didn't feel right talking about other yarns. And so that really limited me to what I could say on knitting. So I thought, let me change up my channel. And I was really getting into makeup. And I thought, well, I'm watching YouTube because of makeup. So I thought, why don't I just jump in and do it? And at that point I had moved to Vegas and could do it more easily. In New York, it was very difficult to film YouTube because lighting and space and storage and all that kind of stuff. And things just sort of fell into place. So I just started filming makeup videos. Why not? What do you eat to keep your skin so flawless? Do you drink coffee? What do you avoid? Do you cook? Are you a good cook? I don't know why I want to know that. So I just did my skincare routine, and I talked about how important I think diet is for your skin health. And I mentioned that I eat paleo. So I basically eat meats and vegetables. I try and not eat too many fruits because I try and stay away from sugars of all kinds. I also try and stay away from dairy, but I am allowing myself cheese because if I couldn't eat cheese, I would just really lose my mind. So so I'm basically paleo plus cheese. I do drink coffee. I have a cup of coffee in the morning with almond milk. So I definitely try and avoid sugar. Sugar for me is the worst inflammatory for my skin and for my body. My joints especially. That's generally why I keep up with paleos, because my joints become very, very inflamed if I don't stick with paleo. If I have a lot of grains, if I have a lot of sugars, I just feel awful. So I eat paleo. I do cook. It's unfortunate because I used to do a lot of takeout or eat out a lot in New York. It's just not possible here in Vegas. There just aren't as many options. So I do cook a lot. I used to love to cook. I actually used to love to bake. Baking was sort of my thing. But because I don't really eat sugar anymore, I kind of stopped baking. But I do cook. I'm an okay cook. I'm no like culinary whiz, but I can throw together a meal. And so a lot of people have been asking me about this ring. So this is my engagement / wedding ring. This is a moonstone. It's an 18 karat rose gold. And this is by a designer called Lucifer Vir Onestis. I think actually it's a husband and wife team. They're based in Milan, Italy. And they used to be sold at Barney's, which is where my husband and I picked this up. But Barney's doesn't carry this line anymore. I don't really know why. But I will put the name either up on the screen or down below in the description box, because there are places where you can purchase it. But all of these rings are one of a kind. You'll see if you do a search for this brand, you'll see a lot of very similar types of rings where it's just this very organic shape with a big stone in the middle. But I liked the moonstone a lot. These 5 rings are stacking rings. And these were actually made for me by a friend of mine back in New York. She was actually taking a jewelry making class at the 92nd Street Y. I asked her if she would do this, and she did. She's amazing, absolutely amazing. So we actually went to the Diamond District in New York. I picked out 5 different colored diamonds. I don't know if you guys can see that, but they're all different colors. And then she made these rings for me. And then this ring on this hand is a diamond ring. It's set in platinum, and this was my grandmother's on my mother's side. So that is this ring. So that's the story of my rings. How do you like Las Vegas? I mentioned that. Do you get the amount of the beautician's daughter asked me on Instagram, do you get the amount of crap I get for not having children? Seriously, I sometimes feel like they want to burn me at the stake. I actually don't get any crap for not having children. Most of my friends in New York don't have children. My older brother doesn't have children. My husband has an older brother. My brother-in-law, he doesn't have children. So both of our parents are not going to be grandparents. And a lot of my cousins don't have children. My mother, I think, probably tells me every time she sees me that she's glad that I did not have children. Because they're such a pain in the ass. I'm always like, thanks, Mom. She's like, you know what I mean. I'm like, okay. I've never, ever felt the pressure to have children, which is good because you know how some people, like, they just have this need? It's this inexplicable need to have children. I have that same inexplicable need to not have children. I just have zero interest in procreating. And so thank goodness I was never pressured or pushed into doing it because, you know, that's not something you want to do half-assed. So no, and I feel bad that you get crap for not having children. I think that's really, really awful. Favorite restaurant in Vegas? I have a couple, and we've been talking about it in this video, but maybe one that I haven't mentioned is Carbone. Carbone is an Aria. It's an Italian restaurant. It's just such a cool looking restaurant. And if you guys are really into food, you need to follow my other Instagram account, which I will post up here now. It's Michele2x, Michele 2 times. That's like my knitting personal food Instagram, but I post a lot of pictures of food on there, probably more than knitting at this point. What are your thoughts on light stim LED lights for collagen production? I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming that's some LED light that you shine on your face for collagen production. I am not really into, as my husband would say, fucking with my face. My husband, my mother has always said, don't fuck with your face. Do as little as possible. You don't want to do too much stuff to your face, or it's a temporary kind of high, like it plumps up your skin or whatever. But then within 6 months, your skin actually looks worse than when it started. I find that to be the case a lot. Again, I'm no dermatologist. I'm no doctor. I am no esthetician. I'm only speaking from my own experience and from things that I've heard. But I just feel like a lot of things that are out on the market make you look better temporarily. And it's not even that once it fades, you'll look the way you did. You'll look worse. And that's sort of my thought, but I don't know anything specifically about these LED lights. What's one of your favorite memories? One of my favorite memories was in 2nd grade when I turned 7. My mother was working in New York City and she rushed home for my birthday and she bought me a gigantic Snoopy in the subway station. But he was huge. Absolutely huge. I remember her walking through the door, and I had always wanted a dog. I didn't have a dog when I was younger, and I loved Snoopy. And here she was walking in with Snoopy, and I just got so excited. That is definitely one of my favorite memories from when I was younger. What's your favorite restaurant in Vegas? I think we've talked about restaurants enough. If you could create your own makeup line, who would you model it after? I do love the aesthetics of the Surratt beauty line, but some of it I feel is like a little bit impractical, and I don't really know how I feel about all the replaceable cartridges and that's the whole thing, even though I know that's more eco-friendly. And as much as I love the minimalism of Surratt beauty, I think I'm personally a little bit more tacky than that. So it'd probably be something between like Pat McGrath and Tom Ford, something with like more gold in it. And I'm just talking about packaging, by the way, but for the actual makeup, probably something like Pat McGrath, where it's a lot of fun, but I find it's very, very wearable. And I like that. That's sort of how I like makeup to be. What languages can you speak? I can kind of speak Mandarin Chinese, but it's more like my parents speak to me in Chinese and I'll answer them in English. So for me to actually conjure up a sentence in Chinese is very, very difficult, but I can kind of do it. Kind of. Places you've lived in or countries you've visited. We've talked about that. I've only ever lived here. Since you were trying a no-buy, have you considered panning your makeup as a challenge? I'm not a project panner. I also don't get it because I feel like you just end up using the makeup just to get to the pan, like you'll use more just to get into it. And I'm like, I don't want to waste my makeup and I don't want to like stab my eyeshadow in the same spot just to get to pan. Like, that's not my thing. I just want to use and enjoy my makeup. Natasha Denona or Pat McGrath? I want to say Pat McGrath. She has more things that I like. I like both of their eyeshadows, but Pat McGrath also has like lipsticks and lip glosses that I like. I do like the Natasha Denona highlighters, I think maybe a little bit more than Pat McGrath's. No, Pat McGrath, definitely. Any plans for another dog pet buddy for Miss Fuzzy Butters? We are thinking about it. We think, because she loves to play and fetch, and she's so rambunctious that it would just be nice if she had another sibling to play with. And so we're thinking about getting another Frenchton because we just love this breed so much. She's just so cute. So yeah, we are thinking about it. Current knitting project, favorite yarns, favorite knitting designers. Current knitting project, I just swatch. There very, very rarely do I actually get to work on an entire project. So this is actually one of the things that knitting and makeup have in common is the idea of swatching. So swatching is basically just creating a small fabric, and this is what I design from. So I will knit a small fabric of patterns or things like that, and then I'll write a design from the swatch. I have to take measurements and stuff like that. So that is, I think, always funny. Whenever I say swatching, in regards to knitting or makeup, I always kind of think, oh, this is one thing they have in common. Favorite yarns. I talked about the Beauregard yarn from The Plucky Knitter. That's my favorite yarn at the moment. Favorite knitting designers. I guess the one that comes to mind, and I'm talking about hand knitting designers, would be Julie Hoover. I worked with her when I was at Brooklyn Tweed, and she's just awesome. Her designs are just impeccable. Why did you start your channel? I talked about that. What brought you to Vegas? I talked about that. Is your main job now knitting, handcraft related, or makeup beauty? My main job is definitely design director for The Plucky Knitter. This is still just a hobby. And if it's makeup, how did the change happen? By the way, love your channel, looks videos. Found you through collaboration with Waffin's wife. Thank you, Jessica. Jill's Makeup Fancy. If you had your choice of what makeup brands you would want to work for, which brand would you like to shut down completely? Which brand would you like to use for the rest of your life if it was the only brand you were allowed to use? Wow. I'm trying not to talk about makeup stuff. I think I'm going to leave that for like a makeup Q&A. So let's leave this. Because I've already been talking, I think, for like 2 hours. Let's see. I'd love to know more about knitting. I think I've talked about it quite a bit. There's been fleeting mentions since I started watching 2 months ago. Exercise and more about the paleo diet would also be interesting to know, as in how did those choices happen? So I talked more about the paleo in my skincare routine video. I was just experiencing like just random stuff that was really annoying. Like my eczema would just kind of pop up. It wasn't blowing up into like the ugly mess that it was when I was younger, but it was kind of just popping up. I have just skin sensitivities. My joints were really, really inflamed, and they were in pain. And so I started an elimination diet with a friend of mine, and she actually brought the paleo diet to my attention. So I tried it because I read this book about it. There's plenty out there, and it just talks about the philosophy behind it. And I really liked it because it wasn't so much about like counting your calories and you should have like a 40-40-20 diet. Like it wasn't about numbers or calorie count. It was literally just like how should you eat to be healthy? So that's really what attracted me to paleo. And exercise. I've always exercised. In high school I played sports. On the weekends I'd play tennis with my dad. In college I just didn't exercise at all. It wasn't until maybe I was 25 or 26 that I picked it up again. I started running. And so I've always really liked exercise. It's always just made me feel better. For me personally, it's more mental than it is physical. So I've always been a runner. I ran in the New York City Marathon, but after that I started to slow down a little bit, and I just kind of kept re-injuring myself. I gave myself a stress fracture. I pulled my hamstring, and so I had to downshift, and I just haven't been able to run as regularly as I did and as I would like to. So now I go to Orange Theory Fitness, which is a gym, and they just have classes all day, and you just never know what you're walking into, but you're going to be running on the treadmill, you're going to be rowing on the water rower, and you're going to be doing some weight training or strength training. So it's a combination of those 3 things in every class, and I absolutely love it. I love it. Are you able to earn some money out of YouTube? Like so little. So little. This really is more just for fun. This really is just more my hobby. Sure, I would love to be able to make money at it someday, but that really isn't my goal. Excuse me. That isn't really my goal, because I don't know if that will ever come. But for now, I just like turning on the camera and talking to you guys. I'm definitely trying to focus on that portion of it and not the fact that I really don't make any money. But that's okay. What does my husband do? How did you and Sonia G become friends? Sonia G and I became friends because I did a video reviewing her brushes, and we just slowly started contacting each other. She would comment, I would comment, she'd comment on Instagram, I would comment on Instagram. I messaged her, she messaged me, so we just kind of grew from there. And she actually ended up coming to Vegas for work, and so we just ended up meeting up, and she's so lovely. She's just, oh my goodness. I just, when you just click with someone, I feel like I just clicked with her. I hope she feels the same way about me. But yeah, I just love her. So here's some more makeup questions, which I'll leave for like a makeup Q&A. And do you have kids or just fur babies? I don't have any kids. I just have my one dog. All right, so I think I've answered all the questions that were on Instagram and on my YouTube community tab. Thank you guys so much for, if you guys are still here, thanks for sticking around for this incredibly long Q&A, but I just wanted to make sure I got to everyone's questions. But I think maybe when I hit 20K, I will ask you guys for more makeup related questions, and I can get to those other ones that you guys posted. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you had some fun getting to know me a little bit. I'm not that exciting, so I don't know if that was any fun. But give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment down below if you have any comments whatsoever. Subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you in my next video.